I saw so many houses destroyed. It's going to impact so many people throughout this region.
That is an emotional video right there from Alekz Londos. He is, of course, as you can tell, a photojournalist who has been working covering these fires over in the LA County area. I did want to bring him in live right now to talk a little bit more about what he's seen as this coverage does continue here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Of course, we can tell from that video just how emotional you are.
Yeah, thanks again for this opportunity and this interview to get this information out to more people. Yeah, that was my first breakdown after, seeing everything I saw, witnessing all the destruction and devastation, and it hit me right then. That was, yeah, that was difficult.
And can you start off by telling me what you were thinking when you heard that these wildfires had broken out in the first place?
So I actually was already prepared and preparing to make my way down to LA. I live in Santa Cruz, but I saw, the weather reports and, projected or forecasted historic wind speeds. And I started getting prepared and planning and packing my vehicle, getting my supplies and equipment together, even before I knew of the wildfire. I knew of the wildfire risk and how serious that was going to be. But at the time of planning all of this, there was no fire. And then I kind of had my second thoughts because, it's a long drive from Santa Cruz to LA. And when I heard about the fire and already knew about the wind speeds, I was already ready to go. So I was able to make it down to LA much quicker than I would have if I haven't been watching the news and paying attention to the forecast and meteorological reports.
And I do want to pop up just some of the photos and videos that you have taken over here. Explain to me what we're looking at.
So that was one of the first neighborhoods that I entered. Beyond words, there's no pictures or videos that I can capture that shows the severity of the crisis, what firefighters were going through, how there just wasn't enough help, there wasn't enough resources. The firefighters on the front lines were doing an amazing job. They were extinguishing fires. I even pointed out part of the structure that was on fire. They came to it, they extinguished it, they saved that house. They were doing a great job, but the fire was so big and spreading so rapidly, it exceeded the local resources that they had. It was out of control. It kept jumping from house to house. Embers were flying around. They couldn't keep up with it, and it was so surreal for everyone in that region. And that was just one section. There was so many other sections and other neighborhoods and whole other areas on fire throughout the region. That was just one area.
Of course. And we've seen the videos, we've seen the photos that are circulating, the aerial views. Do they, just based on what you've seen, do they fully, I guess, show just the destruction? And it has to be so different to actually be there and see it firsthand versus maybe seeing videos and photos, no matter how great they are.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to describe, explain, or even through technology and videography to clarify the situation. It was so beyond words, beyond what we can capture. The drone images that, obviously no one should be flying drones after a forest fire, but those were some of the first images that came out that really showed people the scope of the disaster and how many, I was driving down streets after streets and leaving neighborhoods and going to other neighborhoods. It was so destructive and so widespread. I couldn't comprehend how many houses were lost, and I knew that it was in the thousands. I didn't want to start projecting numbers and, scaring people, but it was so incomprehensible. No words could just explain how bad it was to any of my social media followers or news organizations I work with. And eventually more footage was, going to come out of that region, and, the number of houses destroyed and damaged would be calculated. But yeah, and widespread destruction.
And it's so tragic. And you look at some of these images and you think that's somebody's home, that's their livelihood, their life that is just gone in a matter of seconds. What does it mean to you to see all the support that's been coming in, not just from other folks in California who are not necessarily impacted, but from people nationwide as they are donating to places like the Red Cross or other organizations. They're doing what they can to help. What does that mean to you as someone there who is on the ground seeing all of this destruction firsthand?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that's what we need right now. That's what these people need. They need, they need the attention, they need the support, they need the help, they need the donations, they need the recovery, they need their friends and family, people to open up their houses, to give them supplies, to donate to their GoFundMes, of course, as long as they're legitimate. They need, this is going to be a long road for them. And of course, we know the situation with insurance and how long it takes, how difficult that process is, all the steps you got to go through. Right now, they need support. So in any way that any of us, locally, regionally, or around the world can support the people affected by this, catastrophic disaster. I mean, that's where our energy, our focus, our time and attention should be. And it's going to be a long road for all of them. I can't imagine going through this. A lot of people can't. This is one, I've been a journalist for 2 decades. I've covered 60, 70 forest fires. This is the most, one of the most, if not the most destructive forest fire I've ever seen, with the amount of, acreage, the amount of homes destroyed, and how rapidly it spread, just out of control.
And you think about all the lives affected. As of right now, we know that the death toll does stand at 16, but officials have warned that as they're able to put out the fire and survey the damage, unfortunately, that number is expected to rise. So as I mentioned, a very tragic situation with a lot of information coming in pretty much on an hourly basis here. What do you want to make sure that people watching right now know about the situation that is taking place out there as you're on the ground covering all of this?
I think a lot of people are trying to point blame to what the cause was and why, and there's all this red tape. We just need to focus on recovery and maybe how to prevent this in the future, and focus on the people that have been affected and impacted. We got to think about all the animals that may be injured, and the environmental cleanup that we're going to have to focus on, and just protecting the waterways, protecting the ocean, and hopefully cleaning up as much debris before it starts raining again, and just really focus on the recovery efforts. People should start volunteering, trying to find ways they can, just in any way help the people, the animals and the neighborhoods of this disaster in the recovery efforts, because it's going to take all of us. This was a catastrophic disaster of a widespread, incomprehensible scale, and it's going to take a lot of us coming together to solve this and move forward.
All right, Alekz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and discuss this a little bit further. Please stay safe out there. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
Again, 2 decades of covering forest fires, not necessarily with this defensible space. I'm about to cry. Almost every single house I've ever seen lost was because there was no defensible space. Over and over and over again. It's just like, we need defensible space. Hardening your home is great, but defensible space, I mean, I hate the idea of cutting down trees and trimming bushes and all of this, but we need defensible space. The majority of all the houses I've ever seen did not have defensible space. That's why houses are getting destroyed. And it might not be with this situation when there's a firestorm, but in most situations, that's the main cause people lose their homes. Thanks for letting me get that statement in.
Of course. Alekz, thank you again for being here. As I said before, please, please stay safe out there.
Yeah, thank you.